Welcome to Access to Inspiration, the podcast that goes beyond the ordinary to uncover stories that spark curiosity and expand your horizons. I'm Sue Stockdale, and today on episode 145, we're embarking on an extraordinary story with a man whose passion for adventure knows no bounds. Anil Damle from India is a nature and wildlife enthusiast and a fearless road tripper. He's driven across continents, in fact across Africa, South America and Australia. Anil talks to me about driving such long distances through diverse terrains, some of the challenges he's faced, the lessons learned from the kindness of strangers, as well as the resilience required to drive such long distances with your friends. Welcome to the podcast, Anil.
Sure. In India, we greet saying namaste, like a hello, what you say in English language. So, namaste to all the listeners. This is Anil Damle from Pune, India.
Well, it's lovely to speak to you today, Anil. And you are quite some traveller, I understand, and done many road trips in different countries around the world. What sparked your interest in travel initially?
I am a nature enthusiast and wildlife passionate. And since 1993, I went to Africa for the first time, to Kenya for safari. And after coming back, I had written a book on Kenya safari, which was well read in this part of India. And then people started asking me, why not you can organize similar travels or safaris for us. This is how I started to travel. But basically, I have great passion towards nature and wildlife. So this is how we started.
There are so many fascinating countries in the world to visit. How do you decide where to go?
To start with, I went first to Kenya only because my main passion was towards the wildlife. And I had read many books on Africa, particularly Kenya safari and African safari. So I wanted to do it at least once in my life. But luckily, then I started organizing such trips since then. Now I must have gone to African continent more than 50 times.
Wow.
And we at Damle Safaris, our travel agency, we are specialized in coming up with some different ideas to do something else than run of the mill. So first idea came to my mind, why not do some road trips, unique road trips. So we did in 2016 across African continent. That is from Durban to Alexandria.
How many miles is that?
It was 14,342 kilometers, not miles, kilometers, in 42 days. And we did it very successfully in 2016. And while returning from that journey, the participants were talking now what next. So idea came to my mind, why not go to Latin America? Why not do it similar journey from southernmost tip to northernmost tip? And then we started working on that. So initially going to some odd places, taking some adventurous routes or challenges, and this is how we started to organize these road trips.
So that makes sense that you set some big ambitions. It's no mean feat driving 15,000 kilometres in Africa. Immediately, my mind goes to some of the practicalities because we previously had a guest who had cycled around Africa and he talked about the challenges of language and bureaucracy, getting into each country and out of it again. How did you find that in Africa, the preparation and the practicalities of the trip?
Okay, see what has happened that since 1993 till 2016, I had been to all these different countries like Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, then even Egypt and all these places except Ethiopia and Sudan. I had gone to these places several times, and luckily in 2016 the condition in Ethiopia and Sudan was quiet, and we had a good agency contact over there, and they assured that you need not have to worry, everything will go smoothly. And rest of the countries I had already established contacts for several years, so it was quite easy. And only the challenge there was we could not hire or we could not take any vehicle in Cape Town and we could give it back in Egypt. So we had to send our own car from India by shipment to Africa, and then it was brought back. But another thing about the language, I found there was no problem because most of these country people do speak English, connected with travel and tourism. So communication was not difficult. We could do it quite smoothly. And after coming back, this journey was recognized by India Book of Record, like Limca record. We have people who recognize different records. So this journey was recognized by India Book of Records.
Wonderful. So that sounds to me like you were traveling at quite a rate. And given that your interest is in nature and wildlife, I'm wondering how much of the wildlife you had a chance to see whilst you were driving in Africa.
What we did that on the way we had decided to make a 2 night stopovers at different national parks, like in Botswana, like in Zambia, like in Kenya. Post Kenya, once you enter into Ethiopia, there is hardly any wildlife. So we just travel ahead and ahead and ahead. So in rest of the park, south of equator, we had great opportunity to go and see the wildlife while driving.
So, given that you had that success in your 42-day journey in Africa, and then you turned your attention to South America next, and I was connected to you through Christian Van Gent, who I traveled with in Paraguay recently, and he also was part of your journey up through the continent of South America.
Yeah, he was with us. He was a great asset for our tour. What we had done during our African continent road trip, we had printed maps on the car, on the both side, showing the route. And our motto was like travel across Africa for friendship drive. And that helped us a lot. So we repeated same thing while we traveled in South America. We had put maps on the both side and the flag of each country where we were traveling.
So people can recognize you, that you have a purpose to your travels as you're going.
Yes.
So, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced on your South American road trip?
Yeah, the challenge was getting a car, and that challenge was overcome by Christian. He was in contact with me because of my travel business, and when we contacted him and asked him how can we do it, out of bloom he said, "I will join you." We had no idea that he is going to join, but it was a great boon to us. And then he decided that he will drive car from Paraguay to Ushuaia, that is southernmost tip of Argentina, and then we will start driving. And only after we reached at Ushuaia, our understanding was he will just sit next to the driver, like a translator and navigator. He will help us. So that is how we could solve the main problem of taking a car for this trip. And the second was language. Well, since he was with us through and through, speaking Spanish and establishing communication was no problem. And he was a great person in our group. We were three people from India who were on that journey. Another problem we had to come over was like in India, the driver sits on the right side of the car, whereas in Latin America, you sit on the left side of the car. So it's like driving on the reverse way how we are used to. So that was a big challenge. But what happened that when we started from Ushuaia, it's a very small town, so it was not crowded. So first few days we could learn ourselves that how one has to drive, and through the total drive, only few places the traffic was much like a big cities and capital cities of different countries. Otherwise, everywhere the traffic was almost like none. We could see in a full day travel of 500 kilometers, just 5 or 10 cars passing each way. So that was quite easier. When we reached Ushuaia, we wanted to organize something like a flag off. And I knew that earlier I had been there twice, so I knew that there is a southernmost post office. So we were planning to go to the postmaster of that place and ask him to give us a good wishes for the travel and do the flag off ceremony. So we went there, but we found that post office was still closed due to the winter. So what to do was next question. So while we were just walking around the town, we came across Argentina Tourism Board's office. So we thought, let's go and walk in and find out what we can do. So we went there and we introduced ourselves. We showed them our car, how we have put the maps and everything. And we were looking for this kind of flag off ceremony. Then the lady over there, she said, "Oh, that's really great, nice. We will help you. Our Argentinian tourism secretary is going to be here in few minutes and we will request him. So we said, okay, why not? And then we went there after about an hour's time. We had a lunch in between and we met that gentleman. His name was Juan and he happily agreed to do so. And we had our India flag and all that. And we went to the one place where he suggested and he did the flag off. And then our plan was to stay another night in Ushuaia. So we stayed. Next day, when we started our travel, just after about 100 or so kilometers, there was a first check post or police post where we were stopped, obviously. And they started to look around our car and then asked us to pull down the window. And everybody extended their hands and shook hands with us. And then they started talking with Christian. We did not understand Spanish, so we were just looking at him, "Ki, what's going to happen, what they are asking for." After a few minutes, they actually salute us and said, "You can go ahead." And then I asked Christian, "What's all happening?" So he said that Mr. Juan, the tourism secretary, has informed all the posts in Argentina that such a kind of journey travel is being organized by some Indian people. So try to help them.
Wonderful.
So that was a great surprise.
Well, it just paid off then going into the tourism office to have that result. That was excellent.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, do you know if you were the first Indians to undertake that journey?
Yes, because how we came to know is that we checked with the all different societies or communities within India if anybody has done such kind of trip. So what I am saying that people from India and Indian
Yes.
people, the people who the origin Indian origin people living abroad, we don't know if anybody has done. But people from India, we were the first to do it. That is why this journey was also recognized by India Book of.
So you've been in the book twice. So how do you plan for such a long journey, given there's the logistics of not only you and the other passengers to consider, but also how you maintain the vehicle?
We had a Kia Sorento model car, and before it was brought to Ushuaia, its servicing was done very well. All the tires were new. So, because this journey was about 15,050 kilometers from south to north. So, initially, we had taken all the care of car that it is well maintained and it is in good shape. That was first. Secondly, traveling every day, we had planned with the Google map and the help of Christian how many kilometers do we travel, and more than the number of kilometers we had to look at the en route towns or cities or places where there will be good place to stay overnight. So that way we planned that. So some days we had to travel more than 700 kilometers to reach to our destination because in between there was no any good comfortable place to stay or something like that. So each day we started planning, counting the mileage, counting the kilometers, looking at the map. And while doing that, at some places we found a remark saying in red color that this road is closed. So then we were stuck up. So we had to go back to again Christian, ask him to check because this planning started at least 2 months in advance. So we had a time to go back and forth. So then he checked at such places where we found, we thought there is a problem, and then it was all organized properly.
And I understand you had a potential issue crossing one of the borders because of some of your Indian products that you had taken with you.
Oh yeah, that was very interesting. In from Argentina, Argentina when we entered into Chile earlier, also when I had done the same way, going into Chile from some different place, we had a tough time. We had some fruits which we picked up in a aeroplane and forgot to throw them away. So we were stopped and they said that you are going to get fined and all that. So we were all worried. I had that bad experience. So I had told everyone that we have to be very careful and we have to make sure that nothing will go wrong. But what happened that I had one spice, Indian spice, which was with a lot of ginger and it's some aromatic herb which was there and it can smell from quite long distance. So what I did that I just picked it up and put inside my coat and quickly I slipped from that place and went to the washrooms. Then these people came in, the dog came in, he sniffed everywhere and then nothing was found. So after I saw them, they have gone. I again quickly went to the car, keep that small pouch over there, and then just I was standing as if I don't know anything what has happened. And then we were okay, good, we have no problem. But another surprise was that the lady in charge who was there at the immigration, she said that now you are going at a quite higher altitude, so you might get a trouble of oxygen. So she offered us a bunch of coca chocolates, and she said you can start chewing it right from now, so it will help. You will not get any problem with the high altitude and all that. So in a way, we had a tough time, but in a way, we were welcome.
Yeah, that's so funny. It does make quite a difference when you go up into the Atacama Desert at high altitude, doesn't it?
That's a one very unique experience we came across, that while entering into Atacama, again we entered into Chile in those regions. So a road which was going to Atacama Desert was going on a very high altitude mountain ranges. At one place we saw some icicles, the frozen ice, and we thought that we should get down and take the pictures. So Christian and another friend of mine who was driving, they just dropped us at that place, and it was not good place to park the car. So they went ahead for about say 50 meters or so. I got down with my friend. I took a nice photographs, and then I started walking. After about 10 steps, I was gasping like anything. And then I thought that my head is getting heavier. So I stopped. Every 5 steps, I had to stop. And then somehow we managed to get into the car. And then Christian told me, Anil, do you know we are at 15,000 some 60 feet altitude, and oxygen is quite less over here. So you must have had trouble. So I said, Christian, what has happened about the oxygen cylinder? So he said, oh God, I forgot to take it. So we had no oxygen cylinder with us. But luckily, both of us, we overcame the situation. After about 10 minutes of rest, we started. But when we switched on the car got started, but car was not able to take a proper pickup because of the lesser oxygen. And that was something unusual experience we came across. But we could manage slowly.
It's interesting when we're planning journeys remote from the actual destination, how these don't always even enter into our mind in terms of how they will have an impact on either us as individuals or the vehicle we're traveling in.
Yeah. No, that was quite dangerous. We realized that how come we forgot. And when we started from Ushuaia, we had actually cross checked everything. This is done, this is done, this is an oxygen cylinder. Somehow we missed. We had no oxygen cylinder. Then after getting down, he got one oxygen cylinder. But the main challenge we came across, luckily without any problem.
I hope you're enjoying what Anil has to say. And whilst this podcast is free to listen to, it's not free to make. So if you'd like to support us, then take a moment to click on the Buy Me a Coffee link on the show notes to make a small donation, and we can enjoy that cup of coffee when producing the next episode. Your support really encourages us to continue producing quality audio content for our listeners. Now back to Anil. So, what have all of these journeys that you have done, Anil, taught you about resilience and adaptability? Because those are qualities that no doubt you've had to apply on your journeys.
That's a great thing one has to understand, because we three of us were quite close friends of each other, but we had never traveled so many days together, sitting every day 7 8 hours in a car in smaller area. And Christian, who didn't knew our language and who was not familiar with Indian kind of food. So some days we had cooked our own food. We had taken with us some ready to cook things like rice and different things. But he never complained. He was a gem of a person. Another thing, while we were traveling, we used to play Hindi songs continuously. And obviously, he wouldn't understand a single word. But some songs were having a good rhythm and good music, then he used to give a reaction to that kind of thing. So one day, after having traveled for about 10, 15 days, I asked him, Christian, how are you going about this? You don't understand any language. We feel like you are enjoying the music. He said, yes, music. I can see the music is quite sweet to ears and it is good, so I can go well with that. So that was his a special character that he never complained about Indian food. And sharing room with Christian, I did share my room with Christian all along the tour. But everything went so smoothly that we had never thought of it. Ki what may happen.
So, yes, knowing Christian as I do, having traveled with him on our journey in Paraguay, I know that that ability for any of us to remain calm and accepting of things that are unfamiliar to us is so important.
Yes, yes, yes. Even among ourselves, it was like I would say the experience of traveling so many days together is a teamwork should be understood by everyone. That everyone should know that this is our together effort to make something happen, to travel through and through successfully. So unknowingly, we just got our work divided. Like Christian, we had to take everyday lunch in the car itself because at some places there was no any possibility to come across tea, coffee shop or something. So we used to prepare earlier day, evening. We used to bring some tomatoes, cucumber, but something, whatever, bread and whatever fruits. Then whenever at the lunchtime, we used to stop on the roadside. Then Christian, all by himself, he said, I will start preparing tea from the first day. So he took a job of preparing tea. My friend Milin, he said, I have never cut any cucumber or tomatoes, but I will learn myself. So every day he did that job. My job was to make a sandwiches with we had some Indian spice. So add that Indian spice, add that cucumber, whatever. And then Anand Kakatkar, the fourth one, he used to serve the food, whatever prepared to everyone. So that teamwork was like flawless for all 50 days. Nobody told anybody that now you do it, now you have to do it. It was just understood by everyone. And that was the, I would say, main point of success. Otherwise, every day, if something goes wrong, I'm not going to do this, I don't like this. If something would happen like this, then the journey would be flop. But luckily, we were all in good terms, and all 50 days went very well.
What do you think when you go back to India, having been on one of these journeys for many, many days, does it change your perspective of life?
Yes, amongst our three people, the friendship has been like one would not imagine how we are now close to each other. That is one thing. Secondly, after having done these both journeys successfully, we all thought ourselves that yes, we can do it. If you plan properly, if you understand your journey, if you understand what might come across, what might be the problems at the 11th hour, I would say that we are now confident that we can come over such a situation in case if we have to face them. I will narrate one thing while we were doing across Africa journey. There were 2 days in between to cross from Kenya into Ethiopia. And I was in contact with Indian embassy in Ethiopia. I called them 2 days earlier that now after 2 days we are coming into Ethiopia. How are the things? He said, unfortunately, the things are not good. So you will have to rethink what you are doing. So that was going to change our total journey. So we thought ourselves in worst scenario, we'll stay back in Kenya. We will leave our car in Kenya, go back to India, and then again continue the journey ahead after everything is done. But I thought to call my travel agent partner who is in Ethiopia and asked him whether how is the situation. He said the situation is bit tricky in some parts. The parts in which you are traveling is calm and quiet. You need not worry. Then I said that can you send some person like a guide at the border who will take us across up to Sudan border. He arranged it in a one day. The one guy called as William, he came to the border between Kenya and Ethiopia, and then he was with us for all 6 7 days. So that kind of lessons after having gone through it, that we feel that yes, there may be in life you can come across some problems, but if you think smartly, quietly, you will definitely find a way out. And that is what we are always talking amongst ourselves or telling other friends and sharing these experiences. So it does help.
I'm taking from what you're saying, Anil, a positive outlook on mankind, that there can be kindness from strangers. People are willing to help. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, sure. One experience I will tell you while we entered into Colombia. Like Colombia is like a tricky place. So many people used to say before our journey, why you are going. So we were a bit, I won't say worried, but we were quite concerned that everything should go nicely. The day first, when we entered into Colombia, and we were traveling through one of the cities, quite a big city, a car came behind us very fast and crossed over, and that man waved at our car two, three, four times, and he slowed down. So we thought that he has to tell us something. So we slowed down. We stopped behind his car, and that person got down and he saw the map and everything. Then he talked to Christian. What are you doing? Then, since he came to know that we are Indian people, so he again shook hands with us, wished us a best of journey, and asked one question to Christian: "Do you have a fire extinguisher in a car?" He said yes. So he said, "Where it is? Show me." So it was in the boot, in the dicky backside, below the bags. So he said, "This will not help. If police stops you, he will first of all ask you, where is your fire extinguisher? It has to be very handy. Otherwise, you will land into a deep trouble." So immediately we removed that, brought it in the rear seat in a handy location, and then we thanked him and proceeded ahead. So this was like unknown person giving us a most important information. Similarly, in Colombia, our guide, Monica, she was there in one of the cities. It's a small town. It's a coffee estate and coffee growing area. So she helped us a lot in that 2 day stay, and she gave us some more information about that place and how you travel further ahead and all that. And on the other side, some, I won't say scary, but some thought provoking incidences happened while we were traveling in Patagonian, very remote area. It was very windy one of the day, very cold outside, and at no man's land, as you say, it's a no man's land, obviously. But like one person all of a sudden stood up on the road. We could see it from quite a distance, and he was waving to us. I was driving. So I slowed down. I slowed down so much that I had a eye contact with him. But Christian immediately said, "Anil, don't stop. Go ahead, go ahead." So I said, "Why?" So he said, "No, no stopping. This is very remote place. We don't know what is there." So then slowly I took up the speed and went ahead. Then after having passed that person, left him behind, we amongst ourselves started talking. What if he is in a real deep trouble and he is requesting some help? And we just did not stop because it may be scary. So then we talking about we have to change our mind attitude, but it's a risky. So who is going to take a risk? And then we were unhappy for quite a time that if he needed real help, we did not stop him. Another thing happened similarly in Peru while we were at Nazca lines. A person, it's a very arid and dry and hot region. A person waved at us and he was holding a water bottle, showing water. We stopped and just a part of the glass we pulled down. And Christian asked him, "What do you want?" He said, "Water. If you have water, give me." So we just quickly gave him one water bottle, some chocolates, and we went out. But he was so happy. Again, we tried to compare the earlier incidents. What one has to do if the things have gone sometimes bad, and if there is some bad experience earlier, you will never help a real needy person, kind of thing.
So, having travelled through all of these countries in South America, which one did you like the best? What was your favourite part of the journey?
It's a Patagonian region. Torres del Paine, then Perito Moreno Glacier, Uppsala Glacier, and that region was most beautiful, I would say. Most beautiful. That's one of the out of the world experience to travel and experience that nature, which is very beautiful. That's a great place.
I would concur, having travelled there myself. It's a beautiful part of the world, is Patagonia.
Yes, yes, yes.
And what did it feel like when you managed to finish in Colombia and had completed the journey? Was there a sense of relief?
Yeah, Colombia, last part of the journey, Christian was not with us. And we had to do from Rio Hacha to Faro Punta Galinas on our own with the local person over there. And we had to take a 4x4 vehicle which could travel through the mud and bad road patches and all that. So after we actually reached that place, we had to go across quite a challenges like driving through the water, driving through the slurry mud. Car used to go like on its own, no controls and all that. Then we finally went there. We went to that place where it is written Punta Gallinas. We took a photographs, and then we said yes, we did it. And then there is a small hotel or lodge, I would say, a place to stay. We went there. There were quite many other also Americans, maybe Europeans. I don't know who were many people around there. So I asked them that why have you come here? My idea, as since we did across Africa, we wanted to do it. So they said no, we just came to Colombia and we are coming here up to Faro Punta Galinas. They said why? What's so much interesting you find in that? They said no, it's only because it is there we came. They might be having a wish that they have to go to the northernmost point of Latin America. That is why they came there. So for us, it was like a great satisfaction that we could reach to this place because it was quite tough. The road was not really good, and the staying facility was very basic, but we were prepared for that.
Sometimes the final part of the journey could be the hardest in any venture like that. What does all of this travel give you, Anil? Why do it? I guess some people might ask, why do all of these travels?
Because I want to travel. I like to travel to odd places, plan something unique, which maybe nobody have earlier done it. It's not that I just want to prove myself I'm the first, but I want to prove it myself that yes, I can do it. If I have a good company, good people who understand the journey, then we have to do it. And that is how we continued doing that. Then next year we did across Australia.
How long did that take?
It was about 27, 28 days, but we did not do it did all along the coast. We did in the midway. Then we did the southern island of Australia, Tasmania, and the mainland with traveling all through the desert and eastern coastal coastline up to Melbourne, like that. Then recently, last year, we did across New Zealand, both islands, north to south. So that way, we enjoy doing something unique. I like minded people to come with me because we were about 10, 12 people in New Zealand who traveled all across these journeys. And these kind of journeys, you can go to really some odd places.
If you were giving some tips of advice to one of our listeners who may think, oh, I'd like to do a long road trip, but I'm not sure whether I could, what would your advice to them be?
Yeah, that's always a tough question and tough to answer. But basically, looking at my own experience, I would say if you have really strong wish to do something, so do travel for longer days or whatever, then you have to be very sure with yourself and then try to find out like-minded people or try to find out some travel agencies I don't know who will satisfy your needs. Then it can happen. If you just go on thinking but you don't go a step ahead, you will always remain there because I see that there are many friends of my own friends around me who have that capacity. The capacity must be of two things. One is the time, second is obviously you need a money. And if there are people having both things, they don't decide. Only when after I come and meet them and tell them stories, okay, I should have come. Then you should plan. Then only it will happen. That is what I say.
Well, you're such an inspiring storyteller from your adventures, Anil. I think our listener might be looking at a map of the world and deciding on where they might want to visit. It's been lovely to hear your experiences. As we finish the conversation, are there any particular highlights and memories that stick in your mind?
It's very difficult to choose out few, but to mention few, one is in Latin America. We went to see Magellan penguins because otherwise people always feel that penguins are only in Antarctica. But at Punta Tambo, one place where there is a place, these Magellanic penguins, they make a colonies. So that was quite boon to us. And it was a very unique place, I would say.
So finally, Anil, you've spoken about other countries in the world other than India. If our listener was travelling to India, where would be the must-travel destinations in India?
Oh, there are obviously quite many historical places, national parks where you can see the tigers. You can see in the northern part of India, you have like Jaipur, Udaipur, Delhi, and some very unique places, and some religious places like Varanasi and so on. I will tell you one thing about that. While we were traveling, whosoever local people we used to meet and who could speak little bit of English, we used to ask them, "What do you know about India?" So most of the people told us about Varanasi. We know that it's a holy place and I want to once go there, and about Indian yoga. So we were quite happy to listen to that. So, in that sense, there are some places that one should visit, like wildlife parks, like Varanasi, like Jaipur, Udaipur. In South India, there are some temples which are, mind-boggling temples with the carving and all that. One must visit those. You need at least 3 weeks in India, minimum.
Well, you've given us inspiration to go and explore more of the world from your conversation, Anil. What is your next adventure then? I'm sure you got something planned.
Yes, this August, this August we are planning a road trip from Namibia into Botswana, into Zambia, about 25 days, visiting some different national parks, Victoria Falls, and many more different places where there is a unique wildlife one can come across. So that is already on the cards. We are having few people who have confirmed, and by now we are in month of February. By April, everything should be finalized. But this kind of journey we have planned, and I'm sure we will be successful in doing that. I have been to all these places separately, but not have driven all through them. So that will be a good journey in about 24-25 days.
Oh, well, wonderful. You give me some inspiration to get my world atlas out and to put a pin in a map and decide to visit somewhere new. If people want to find out more about you and some of your travels on the internet, how might they do that?
We have our website www.damlesafaris.com, YouTube channel also in the same name. So if anybody feels like let's go and watch what these people are doing, they can see it.
Lovely. So thank you again, and it's been great to have this conversation.
Thank you. As I say, greeting, namaste.
Well, I hope you enjoyed hearing from Anil. His stories reminded me that adventure isn't just about the destinations. It's about the people that you meet along the way and the unexpected challenges you overcome, as well as that inner growth that comes from stepping into the unknown. And if his tales have inspired you to dust off your atlas or reconsider your next adventure, remember to check out his travels at damlesafaris.com. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review, and share Access to Inspiration with someone who could use a little adventure in their life. And you can follow us on social media too. We're on all platforms, just search for Access to Inspiration. Join me again in 2 weeks for another inspiring guest.